the big narrative in the GOP circles right now is Trump is toxic. Look at the Post today, the New York Post. Okay, This is the New York Post. Trumpty Dumpty, and the headline is Don, who couldn't build a wall, had a great fall. Can all the GOP's men put the party back together again? So the Post is definitely turning on Trump. I get it. The article's written by John Podhoretz, who I love, and I listen to commentary all the time. But he's always been a never-Trumper. He hates Trump. So it's like he feels validated in his pre-election Trump hate. And a lot of the people blaming this on Trump fall into that same general field. They hated him before. They hate him now. They feel that like you look for the thing that's going to make you have been right all along. Well, I would like to figure out what it actually is. And my take so far, and I haven't totally digested it, is it's a little bit of a lot of things. Trump's bad candidate selection and push, yes, I think that was a factor in some of these races, in particular at the House level. You had some guys like out there talking about how like the Democrats were like Satan worshipers, like drinking the blood of children. I mean, like that shit actually happened and those candidates got on the ballot. Okay, I could see that being a candidate selection problem. But I look over the Democratic side and they elected Fetterman. You know, they didn't have any problem with him. There are a couple other races where the Dems got in where you're like, I mean, look at Joe Biden. Joe Biden got elected. He can't even put two sentences together himself. So it's like, I'm not sure how important Democrat or candidate selection is on either side. I don't totally get it. Now I hear people who have been very anti-election denialism saying it was all about that. All candidates who denied the election was legit. Those are the ones who got bounced. Maybe. Carrie Lake was like a rising star. Everybody was gravitating toward her. She outdid the Blake Masters candidate who was less of an election denier than she was in Arizona. Why is that? Like, you can't find a consistent theme in each of these races. Some people were upset about abortion. Some people were upset about the January 6th election denialism. Some of the candidates sucked who had been handpicked by Trump in favor of more mainstream Republicans who probably could have gotten in states like Pennsylvania and Georgia. I get that. But I'm just not seeing the clear explanation, and I wonder whether you guys are.
I think there's more of a candidate selection problem maybe than you do, especially in Michigan and Pennsylvania. Right? These are swing states by every definition, and yet both of them just experienced a blue wave. I think it's because the top of the tickets, especially Tudor Dixon, Mehmet Oz, or Doug Mastriano, actually, were so vociferously MAGA. So much about it's not just that they checked the little box saying, yeah, I'm a little bit suspicious of the 2020 election. They were loud and proud about it. And so when you have people at the top of the ticket who are really bad in swing states, suddenly you have Democrats saying, wow, blue wave in Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer should be on the ticket in 2024. No, she was a really bad COVID lockdowner. She should have lost. With a credible opposition, I think she would have lost. Lee Zeldin, I think, might have won actually in New York, when he already did better than anyone's done since George Pataki. I think he might have had a puncher's chance if he had not voted against certifying the election in 2020. Other people may disagree, but he ran on crime and he ran on COVID and a bunch of other things besides. And Hochul is very annoying. I think candidate quality mattered in those cases. The fact that Zeldin ran a really good campaign is going to end up being the decisive tip in the House races, because we've flipped a lot of cases here. So in that sense, I think it does matter. But the caveat is, let's not forget that Pennsylvania elected a dead man.
Yeah,
he did.
I mean, he was
in their defense, he only recently died.
Yeah,
he only recently died.
I would say, Megyn, on the New York Post thing, it's actually interesting, and you're right. It is John Podhoretz from Commentary who has been firmly in the anti-Trump camp since 2015. But that's an editorial page piece. The Post.
For sure, the Murdochs are turning on Trump.
And that's the second in a row. I mean, the first, 2 days ago was a DeSantis cover that it said "the future." with a picture of him. And obviously people have been peeling off from Fox News and going to Newsmax and OAN and all these other places because Fox has, kind of backed away from Trump. I mean, that is a kind of institutional decision. And Rupert Murdoch obviously is Australian in places where, newspapers used to, in England too, make decisions about candidates in a very specific way. We're no longer supporting this guy. But, one of the things that, I think Matt's right about all this stuff, and particularly interesting in New York and, all this, the kind of minor red wave in places like upstate New York. And, Cuomo won by 20 odd points when he won the governor's. I mean, Kathy Hochul won by 4 or 5, right? I mean, she's
a terrible candidate.
On this. It's really impressive in a way. And I think the January 6th stuff did hurt Zeldin. But one of the things that I think is really interesting, because you say, and you're right to say that there's no one thing, there's no silver bullet. It's a grab bag of a bunch of different issues. And I know that we're going to talk about this in a bit. And, it's obviously on the top of my mind because I've been in Florida. But, the thing about DeSantis is he ran a very, very disciplined campaign about issues. So I don't know what Dr. quote unquote Oz believes. Right. I don't know what Herschel Walker believes. I know that they mouth the sort of MAGA platitudes, but you have a guy like DeSantis getting up on stage every single night doing 30 minutes on COVID, 10, 15 minutes on the response to the hurricane. Like what he did in Florida, what made Florida a quote unquote free state that nobody else is doing. Whether or not you agree with that is irrelevant. It's that he ran a very disciplined campaign about ideas, and everybody I talked to was like, he was amazing on this issue. We moved to Florida because he was great on COVID. This is a man that has actually done something and says, I want to do this on a bigger level. And that's why people put him on the front of the New York Post and want him to take over, because it's no longer sniping and crappy nicknames and stuff like that. It's just somebody who's smart and focused and has a kind of flavor of MAGA to him. So I think that's why Florida's been so impressive and Trump less so.
Is there a refinement there, Michael, with respect to DeSantis and whether or not he was running on ideas or if it's the practical implications of his policies?
Yeah, it's both.
During COVID.
That's
and I think that is actually the thing when I look across the country at all these different races, like what are the salient policy proposals that are deciding these elections? And
You're
in
so
a lot
cute.
of instances, I can't find them. You'll hear a lot about abortion because it is a salient policy issue and people want some specific outcome. But beyond that, these are elections that seem to be about contempt. Who I have the most contempt for at the moment, who's failed me the most profoundly. And in rare cases, you have someone like someplace like Florida, where the governor of Florida made very good decisions throughout the COVID situation. It's interesting to imagine what this race would have looked like had COVID never happened. If he wouldn't have had a much closer race in that case. But, that is a defining characteristic of that race. And in many of these other cases, all you know is you're choosing between two candidates you hate, or a candidate who you absolutely hate and a candidate who doesn't seem to have the mental faculties to actually be able to do the job he's being elected for.
I've never been able to compost before. I didn't even know what it was. It was always too complicated, too much work, and sounded like only something some far lefty in San Francisco would do. Wrong. It's actually fun and something your whole family's going to enjoy thanks to Lomi. Lomi allows you to turn your food scraps into dirt with the push of a button, and it makes you feel like a better person. Lomi is a countertop electric composter that turns scraps into dirt in under 4 hours. There's no smell when it runs. There's no sound, really. It's super quiet. And thanks to Lomi, I now have way less garbage each week. Instead, I turn this waste into nutrient-rich dirt that I can then feed to my plants, completing the life circle. Now I'm composting and creating soil instead of waste. I have a basically limitless supply of dirt from my garden, and if you would like to join me in this endeavor and start making a positive environmental impact, fun for the whole family, or if you just want to make cleanup after dinner that much easier, Lomi is perfect for you. Head to lomi.com/MK. lomi.com/MK. Use the promo code MK to get $50 off your Lomi. That's $50 off when you head to lomi.com/MK and use that promo code MK at checkout. Food waste is gross. Lomi is your solution. With the holidays just around the corner, Lomi will also make the perfect gift for someone on your shopping list. lomi.com/MK. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.